Welcome to the Isle Chat podcast with me, Beth,
Josh,
and Ryan.
This podcast is all about exploring the big questions, the small moments, and everything in between.
Whether you're stuck at the shops, in traffic, or just looking for some inspiration, our chat is here to keep you engaged.
It's time to talk, connect, and find meaning in those everyday moments.
Welcome to the Isle Chat.
So before we get into this week's podcast, basically what we've been aware of is that we never mention about who we are behind this podcast. The funny thing about that is we're actually self-sponsoring it. And while we don't have any other sponsors in that place, unless you want to get involved, we thought it'd be a good time to actually introduce ourselves and what we do. So my name is Ryan and I run Roll and Stop Photography Shop, a photography business based out of Liverpool, but also go all over the UK.
I am Josh, one half of Memory Box Films with Beth. We are a wedding videography team based in the Northwest.
And the boss thing is about us, as well as the podcast, we do joint packages together. So if you haven't actually booked your photographers and videographers for 2025 and 2026 season, which does come around quicker than you think, definitely worth checking out both of our social pages and finding out a little bit more about who we are behind. Anything to add, Joshy?
Well done, Ryan.
There you go. Now into the podcast. Want to wear glasses all the time. What have you been up to?
Oh, don't be like that. I think this is a good look for me.
Good luck for you.
But speaking of, recent things, what we've been up to, Pancake Tuesday.
Yesterday.
Did you do it?
I did. Well, I mean, we did our version of it. So we didn't have them. I know we did have them in the night. I went there.
Where was you?
I've had many times in the past where like you've bought that like pancake mix. Like
that's what we picked.
And it never really ever works. But for some reason, I think Becky's just like bought this more expensive version.
Yeah. And
we had them for breakfast rather than having them for tea. And they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
The first one was a bit too thick. It was like a proper book.
Proper Matilda one.
Yeah, proper. I give that to Thea. She was buzzing with it. And then we just had a couple of little ones.
Yeah, for us, it was, Beth's was crap, Juliet was crap, Joan didn't have one, mine was,
pristine.
I had the pour.
It's Josh's world, isn't it?
Yeah, I had the pour.
The first two are just like practice goes.
Yeah.
You might as well get about 18 bottles of that, and by the last one, you'll be all right.
Well, we did use that mix, so maybe that's where the first two went a bit ski with. Because you're a bit like, you don't know what portion size to use, because it says on the bottle 6.
Yeah, you never get 6 out of one.
No.
When I did Thea's, it was nearly all gone. I had a little drag. So,
but actually brought me on to obviously I don't know how much you want to go into because with our guest who's coming on, it does involve it in a slight way, but the Pancake Hut, is it Pancake Hut UK? Have you ever seen the supplier at a wedding?
No.
Well, I have. And basically I think it's during like the drinks reception, instead of having like an ice cream van or something like that, they'll have a Pancake Hut.
When you say waffles. Pancakes, is like crepes and that. So it's just more savouries than.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it was just made pancakes.
But they're really good.
I imagine.
Yeah.
If you're going to call yourself the pancake course, you need to be good at what you're doing.
I think as well, they do a lot of like, don't quote me on this by the way, if they listen, but they do a lot of like big weddings, like influencers and stuff. So they're like a trend on.
So if you want to come on, please feel
They're like a bit of a trend on social media, which is really good.
What else have you been doing now?
Also,
pancakes aside.
We've done wedding fairs. It's been a bit of a wedding fair weekend.
It's been a bit of a wedding fair month.
Yeah.
Plural.
Yeah. How was yours?
Good.
Yeah.
I was part of a new one, actually, brand new one.
So it wasn't really like a wedding fair, was it?
It wasn't.
Yeah.
So our guest, who we'll speak to in a minute as well, she was also at this, but it was basically like a new concept on wedding fair. So basically, Natalie of Brides by Natalie, who's been on our podcast before.
Shout out Brides by Natalie.
She had like a bit of a new range that she was launching.
Lovely.
And in with that range to kind of gel up the occasion, what she did is threw on like a bit of a mini supplier fair, but instead of just getting whoever, she got on like her closest people who I guess she could trust, who she could like say, yeah, these are the people that I would use if it was me, type of thing. And she created something called the Bridal Collective, which makes it feel quite, for me personally, to be involved in it, I felt part of something rather than just I'm at something. So I think that was really good. That's what I took from her as well. And it was a really good turn-up, to be fair.
Good
for
start.
the first one.
Yeah.
And obviously if anyone's never been in that place before, just to go there and see it like in all its glory, because it's been updated since we were there last time as well, was quite something. Every single person.
When's that invite back?
On it. Well, she did say at the end of it, because I was talking to her about it, and she was like, oh yeah, we'll probably just stick to these people again for like the next one, because she has planned another one. She went, but of course we're going to obviously after us like Josh and Beth to come.
Any chance to get back in them dresses, eh?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? People commented on that as well, but we won't go into that one.
You walking around and everyone's going, that's that man who's in the dress.
I told her the story how someone pointed it out to me at a wedding day.
Really?
Which I never lived down. But I'm not bothered at the same time. It's all just an act.
Tell us then. I haven't heard the story.
That was the girl whose wedding you did.
Oh, yeah.
She said, I've seen you somewhere before, and after like 5 minutes of trying to think where.
Couldn't place it.
I've seen you in a wedding dress. It was because of that. But as well as that, talking about people who were at that, who I also seen, or were supposed to be at that, who I also seen, I would probably say my first ever styled shoot, proper one, where I was like specifically like the lead, if you want to call it that way. So our mates, Bradle Sky, another person who's been on the podcast.
Who are smashing it, by the way.
Smashing
really
the
well.
living shit out of it, by the way. They organised a style shoot over at the Hillbark Hotel, place where you and I went last year for Jess and Ben.
We did.
A venue that I think's like, I wouldn't say underrated, just unknown probably to some degree. Because I was saying this, a lot of people go to those like Cheshire venues, you know, your Merrydales and all that, which for the right reasons, because they're all brilliant. But you can come a little bit closer to home and still get that same vibe.
Yeah.
And we seen on that day at Jess and Ben's, the grounds and like the grass and everything, it feels like, or felt like on that day, you were abroad.
Yeah, it was. It was a stunning day, wasn't it?
So we did a style shoot there. And some of those pictures, if you want to see them, are actually out there already on my Instagram.
On rolling stuff, go and check it out.
Little plug there.
Well, I was actually going to talk about my wedding fair.
Okay.
Because sadly, obviously Natalie did ask us to be at the show. But the way the weekend was going, we had Matty's paddle event, which sadly got cancelled. We had Hope Street Hotel already, wedding fair on. So it was like we were trying to put ourselves in like 3 places basically.
That was your first time as a Hope Street supplier, wasn't it? Like official.
But I don't know how it works really, because I think when venues ask you to do the fair, and I don't know whether you're our recommended supplier, or on that event they're just asking you to be there. I don't know how it works. But it was great seeing our good friend Rachel Clark.
Oh yeah.
Seen Dom. Yeah, seen Dom from
Wedding Pianist.
No, Dom and Natalie from
Dom and
Mimi
Natalie.
Bell events.
Okay.
They were there, but it was like, I'm trying to think which one I seen first. Doesn't really matter. The same thing.
Yeah, they were all there.
Yeah, they were all there. It was Laura Sheldon, who does Elevate Your Day, another content creator who's actually having Bridal Sky has a content creation, content
for their
team
wedding?
on her wedding day. Yeah, which is a nice thing, really, because I think if you're a content creator
and someone's picking you,
you've got to pick
that, and it shows a lot of trust, I think, as well, because
Yeah.
you're saying like, to me, you're like as good as me or better. That's what it says, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Oh yeah, I had a little spa day with Beth, Carden Park. And I was get that in
Shout
there,
out
you know.
Carden Park.
Which, by the way, if anyone's putting a free bar on the Carden Park, they must be millionaires. Because that bar, and what done me head in, Beth's been not well lately, and that hasn't done me head in, sorry. She's lost the
Selfish bitch.
she's lost the taste completely. So for like the first few drinks,
Oh, so it was a waste of time?
Basically, yeah. I didn't realise, she didn't tell me this though, so I'm like buying a few cocktails and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, do you want to try mine? And she's like, I can't even taste it anyway. And I was thinking, it's like 15 quid a cocktail, great.
Yeah. £200 later.
It wasn't far off that, but it made me think like venues, and I don't know if this is true or not, but if you get married at a venue like Carden Park or the Titanic, let's say, with a spa, should it not just be like like, what's the word? Where if you get married there, they have to give you the spa day the next day.
I mean, I could see that should be a thing that was offered, but I don't know. For all the money if you're spending, they probably should
That's what I mean.
Probably give you a spa week, let alone a spa
because
day.
when I was there, I was speaking to Beth. Funny enough, we spoke about weddings the whole time.
Shut up.
I
You
don't
think
know-
you were involved in the industry or something?
We were speaking about our own wedding.
Oh.
I know.
What?
I know. So
I'm sure she was stimmed with that.
so I'm like that thinking, oh my God. So while we were sat there, I was thinking, how nice would this be though if you just got married the day before and then you had that whole time.
I think a lot of people do that though, don't they? Like the next morning when like the kids are still gone or whatever, if they've been able to get them minded. That's probably something that you would do first day, waking up as a married couple.
But it should be a sell from the venue to be like, listen, we've got a spa, it's
Comes
included.
as part of it. Yeah. No, I think you're right there. And if you're not onto that as a spa, you probably should do, because I think that would be the sweetener to a lot of couples.
Yeah.
They'd probably be put off by the price, but you go, yeah, but we get the spa as well.
Yeah.
Do you know, and it's only like probably 100 quid or something, but It's the mindset.
It is, isn't it? The little Aladdins, the little...
But the last thing I want to talk about,
Go on.
is the reason why you went to Spa, I don't think it was all this reason, but you put on there our last like bit of time before our first wedding day.
Yes.
You haven't done one yet, have you?
No.
I've kind of lubricated a little bit.
What
What a weird sentence to say.
word.
I've lubricated a little bit.
That is.
Because I've done about 3 wedding events, let's just call it that. 4 probably if you want to count the shoot.
Yeah.
And I'm at the same first one as you.
You
tomorrow,
are indeed, sir.
Which obviously we're looking forward to. But how are you feeling? Feel ready?
I cannot wait. It is that like first game of the season feeling for me from a footy terminology. I am so excited.
Sure, all the brides watching it right on to what you're on about.
Some of them might.
Some of them
but yeah, I'm so excited to get back into it. Caitlin and Jay couldn't be, I know it sounds terrible saying this, but they couldn't be a better couple to start with.
Yeah.
Really laid back.
Down to earth.
Basically, yeah. They feel like mates in a weird way.
I felt that because we did the consultation together, didn't we? And
Yeah.
like, it just immediately from the get-go, sometimes you've got to like figure someone out.
Definitely, yeah.
To like match.
Yeah.
But you didn't even have to figure it out because it felt so real straight away.
Do you know what it must be?
Go on.
We're all from Huyton. And you're not. Well, I'm not. Actually, I'm not from Huyton. I live there. Sorry, Caitlin and Jay. Because they were proper like...
Shout out to all the heightened heads.
But yeah, that's at Culture Hall.
Culture Hall.
Culture Hall tomorrow.
Boss venue. Shout out Culture Hall as well.
Shout out to them. Anything to add before we bring our guest
No,
on?
I mean, I'm just stimmed to get it on, to be fair. And I don't know
Stop saying the word
I don't know why I keep on
stimmed.
saying stimmed.
I know, because I feel like
I'm
it's going to get...
stimmed,
it's gonna-
lubricated. You know,
Moist.
I'm basically a box away from being a Johnny at the moment, aren't I?
I don't know whether that's going to get cut or not.
I don't think it will, knowing you. But I think obviously we've spoke about getting it on for ages, and we say that about everyone, but this one is actually true because I've known Lindsay for about 2 years. I think she'll probably confirm in a minute.
Longer.
Maybe more. And I see her at a lot of like fairs because we recommend suppliers at similar places and stuff, and
Ooh.
just generally throughout our world. Obviously, we see each other when people have hair products at their wedding days, which is connected, and we speak loads as well as that. But anyway, we are going to talk about a certain topic this week. We're trying to and like iron it out a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah.
So it's not so... I know people love the all over the place approach that we do kind of take, and that will still be true, but we'll have like a key topic, and the topic this week, which we'll get help with, is cakes.
Love the cake.
Love the cake. Cakes at a wedding day. All sorts of different cakes, variations. So it made sense to get somebody on. Linzi, our friend, aka Delicious by Linzi, Liverpool, on Instagram, if you want to go and check it out, is in the studio. In the mix, you would say, because, you know, cake related.
Love
Here
that.
she is, hello.
Hiya.
How
Thank
does
you
it
for having me.
How does it feel to be in the studio, you know, getting ready to do a podcast? I don't know why I spoke like that.
I've never done one before, so I wasn't quite sure what to
Yeah.
expect, but when I walked through the door,
Yeah.
it's completely different to what I was expecting.
Yeah.
What did you expect?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I'm intrigued.
I really don't know. I don't know, someone sweaty behind a camera.
I mean, sweaty
you,
behind the
Josh?
mic, probably about the same.
Is as close as it gets.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, because I've never...
You've never been to one?
No,
Yeah.
I've never been to one, but it's a lovely setup.
Oh,
We
thanks.
did
for
try.
having
We
me.
did clean the place up a little bit for you as
Yeah,
well, to be
yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Thought this lady's too prim and proper for us.
Oh, I'm
She's kind of coming into
definitely
our
not prim
scruffy
and
central.
proper.
So obviously you make cakes,
I
but
do.
I'm sure there's a much bigger envelope to that.
There is,
So
there is, yeah.
Have you
yeah.
been always making cakes?
No,
Okay.
my background is frozen fish, believe it or not.
Frozen fish.
Frozen,
Frozen
frozen and fresh fish.
That's
yeah.
saying John, Portuguese or
Used to be a
something.
seafood rep. There you go. You see, yeah. So I used to be a seafood rep, and then this was in South Africa, which we were talking about
Yes.
earlier.
Love that.
And then when I came back to the UK, I worked for Macro.
Right, I know macro, yeah.
Yeah. So as a territory sales manager, and I used to take cakes in for my telesales lady. Kerry, and she said to me, "You're too good to be doing this on the side. You need to be thinking about getting yourself a Facebook page." And at the time, that wasn't
The thing.
the thing.
Yeah.
But we sat down and she showed me how to create a Facebook page, and yeah, Delicious by Linzi was literally born.
Oh my God,
That's
so
how
Kerry
that's-
is like
Kerry
the founder.
Donaldson. Kerry Donaldson was the one that pushed me to start a cake
Shout
business.
out Kerry Donaldson.
I knew that was
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How
it
long
just
ago was that? Just out of interest.
Oh, nearly 15 years.
15.
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
But obviously, I'm guessing the business didn't just start overnight.
Yeah.
It was a
No,
process.
it didn't. It sort of built up over time.
Yeah.
And I'm basically self-taught.
Right.
I've had one class.
That's
One
impressive,
class.
that, isn't it?
Yeah, one class, and that class was how to do a wired rose. So,
I'm guessing then, in this day and age, I think a lot of us, myself included, is self-trained.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah, I am,
self-trained.
yeah, same.
So, like,
Definitely, yeah.
are you still constantly learning still, or is it like...
I don't think you ever stop learning.
Yeah.
It's one of them things. I mean, it's one of the things that I wanted to talk about with cake trends and
Yeah.
what have you. Things constantly change. So wedding cakes, when I first started making wedding cakes, looked very different to what a wedding cake looks like now. Because things change.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you ever find things coming back around again?
Oh, God, yes. Yes, definitely. One of the biggest trends at the moment is a Lambeth wedding cake.
Yeah.
And that's based on Victorian wedding cakes.
Can you tell me what a Lambeth wedding cake is? Because I've got no idea. You nodded along like you knew.
I know. But
And you haven't got a clue.
No.
What is a Lambeth
So
wedding
it's
cake?
very frilly. It looks
Yes.
Is that like one of the ones that you'd like, if you were
Yes.
drawing a wedding cake?
Yes. Swags, frills, scrolls,
Beauty and the Beast
beads.
style?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
See, I knew.
You
So
knew.
if you were to say Bridgerton,
Got you.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's been a big instigator for...
probably.
For that.
Yeah, definitely, probably.
Yes, Beth. Stop watching Bridgerton without me.
She's not watching it for the cakes. She's watching it for the other sweet stuff.
Hey.
There are cake makers out there, though, that would say that the Lambeth cakes that are out now, which are all buttercream, aren't a true Lambeth cake, because proper Lambeth cakes are done with royal icing and there's drop string work and they're very, very intricate. They're the kind of cakes that... There's a big cake exhibition every year in Birmingham in November called Cake International, and you get people from all over the world coming and competing in this competition. So if you win an award there, it's very
like-
prestigious.
Like a Michelin star
Yeah,
type
it's,
of-
yeah, pretty much, yeah, in the cake world.
You've made it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of Japanese and Thai cake makers who do really intricate royal icing
Like
work.
art.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, yeah. That's true Lambeth piping. What we do now is
The Jag
is,
version.
is a
Go
more,
to Costco, throw your name on it.
Yeah, no, it's a more modern
Like a
sort
modern
of
twist.
take on it. Yeah,
But is that
yeah.
because of people's like taste buds? Is that just
It
new?
tastes nicer?
Tastes
for
nicer.
Sure, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just the buttercream's what you said's the thing, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
like the new.
Yeah.
That tastes nicer.
That's like the new icing in it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So really you get two different types of wedding cakes. You get a buttercream wedding cake, which I would say Meghan and Harry are to blame for buttercream wedding cakes.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Royals.
Yeah.
Ex-royals.
It's crazy
She
thinking
was
that.
probably the first famous person to have a buttercream wedding cake. And from that point on, it became a trend. And now it's trendier than sugar paste cakes. But then you obviously get sugar paste cakes, which is the rollout icing
Yeah.
that you put over a sponge cake or over a fruit cake. Now, sugar paste cakes, you've got so much more that you can do with it as opposed to buttercream. But buttercream tastes nicer.
Yeah.
And, more importantly, it's more cost effective.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
Harry and
that's it.
Harry and Meghan were just trying to save a few quid.
No, because apparently, I can't remember exact, so don't quote me on it, but their wedding cake, it was, I think, 7 or 8 single cakes all placed together on really ornate gold cake stands that were probably worth more than the actual
Yeah.
cake. Do you know what I mean? They were proper gold. And I think it was 50,000 pounds.
Oh, standard that for the cake, innit?
For something that if you were buying from me, it probably cost you about 1,200.
Yeah. What was that, sorry?
For something if you were buying from someone like me,
Yeah.
would cost you about £1,200.
Is that including the gold?
Not including the gold stamps, no.
I was going to say how fascinating it is, though, that, like, the trends start from the high up.
Yeah, they do.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well,
I think with trends, I was actually speaking about trends today to get future guests, which I'll just leave it there, about like how trends work and stuff like that, and that they're always looking for like what's coming next. You know, certain things are around and they are going to only be around for a certain amount of time, and we won't go into details of what they were. But like the trends are usually started by people who have to create trends. And I think with things like that, if that's like a monetary thing, then people will copy off the high profile things and like it comes down the line.
Absolutely.
I think that's how trends tend to... Because
Yeah.
otherwise nobody else will be able to start it off because you won't be able to get something so extravagant.
Yeah.
That's my little 10 pence.
No, it's true. It's true. But it can also be influenced by like, colour.
Yeah.
Is a big one.
Colours.
Huge one. Yeah. I mean, in all my years of caking, I've only ever done one red and white wedding cake. And it was last year.
Well, red's
Red
becoming
now.
a trend now,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Ruby red. Yeah.
Red's
so
in
it's
there.
now starting to... And actually, if it's done right, it looks great. If it doesn't, it can
there's-
look like someone's throwing blood at her.
The shades of red now. Like, well,
Yeah.
there's always been shades of everything, but I think people are like more aware of like, the
Yes.
shades. What's the name? Michael and Louise at Christmas time. The last wedding that we done of the year.
Yes.
Theirs was like a bit of a red theme, and I think they were ahead of the whole
Ahead of
trends
their
because
time, yeah.
since then I'm now seeing like people popping up with like you had a bit of a red theme. I know it was Harry Potter, so it's got to be quite like thingy. But at your little birthday event that I weren't invited to, that was quite red.
That
red
I did his
infused.
birthday cake for.
Yeah, she did.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. That was quite red infused.
I wouldn't say it was red.
The candles were red, weren't they?
It's claret.
Yeah,
Harry Potter is,
claret.
Yeah.
Harry
Sorry.
Potter is claret.
Sorry.
Speaking of Harry Potter, I'm going to the studios on Monday. Just getting it in there.
Oh god.
Have you not been before?
I've been. This has
Has
been
he
my
not been
fourth
before?
time.
For now?
right, okay.
Fourth time.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's
They-
a bit
they let on
embarrassing.
Two
to-
Harry Potter fans
They
here.
let on to him when he
yes.
walks in these days. I like Josh.
I wish.
But just to round up a little, I want to just say, just to
Go on.
round up like where you were. So obviously,
Yeah.
things have started to kick off for you.
Yeah.
You're starting to see like things actually happening. And like, at what point did you think, I'm going to do this? Did it take a while?
It did, yeah, it did. Full time. Well, I started doing it full time about 8 years ago.
Okay.
From before that, it was a part time thing, not a hobby, because technically, it's not a hobby if you're making money from it. I have to say that because there are a lot of cake makers out there who are hobby bakers,
Yeah.
but that are charging for their cakes, which actually
There are also a
It's
lot
a-
of
it's
tax
a
men
no-
out there
it's a no-go.
who are looking for
yeah.
you.
So I was doing it as a part-time business, and then I went full-time, and I moved into my unit about 4.5 years ago, and that's when things changed hugely. I mean, I was still doing, I remember one weekend I had 2 weddings on. One was a 4-tiered wedding cake that I had to deliver to Manchester, because I still do a lot of my Manchester customers, even though I'm now living in Liverpool.
Yeah.
But then the other order was a dessert table. So it was a 4-tiered wedding cake, a 2-tiered wedding cake, a single-tiered wedding cake, 12 mini cakes, cookies, cakesicles, cupcakes, you name it. It had it. It was on at the Shankly. And a partridge in the pear tree.
I was actually
So
going to say,
I had-
the fact that you remember all that means
I can remember it because it was stressful.
Scarred.
I had 23 cakes iced, ready to decorate, on a 6-foot trestle table in my dining room.
Yeah.
And I had, at the time, 4 big 6-foot boys living with us. They're my sons.
Yeah.
We've got 6 sons between us, but at the time we had 4 living with us who were wanting to get in the kitchen and make a sandwich and have a coffee.
Take
and
a little lick of the cake.
Yeah, yeah. So
be me,
moving,
that.
yeah, exactly. So moving into a unit has just
Game
changed.
changer.
Game changer. It's meant that I can do more. I've got more space.
It's a workspace then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think when you're working, like from my perspective, I do work from home, which I think a lot of people do in our industry, like you can edit happily from home. But I do think I wish sometimes I had a space, even if it was like next door, just to sort of switch off. And
Close
I
the
think
door on it.
Basically, close the door on it. And I think from yours, from your point of view, yours is like a messy job in a sense,
Very.
isn't it? Yeah.
Flour everywhere.
Yeah.
There's that much stuff involved in making a cake. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Really and truly.
How long is the process then of making a wedding cake?
It depends on how many tiers and what finish.
Okay.
So if it was a standard 3-tiered buttercream cake, you sort of bake the cakes 3 or 4 days before they're due out.
Yeah.
The reason for that is, and a lot of people say, well, surely it should be baked the day before because it needs to be fresh. But actually, sponge cake needs to settle before you start doing anything with it. If you cut into a freshly baked sponge cake, you're going to get crumbs everywhere. And then what happens is you'll start stacking it, putting it together, doing all the layers, and cover it, and then it'll move.
Yeah.
So air.
You've experienced this.
Air starts to, well, yeah, a lot of photographers will have experienced it, where you get the cake and it's sort of leaning to one side.
Especially in the summer.
Oh, nightmare. That is all due to what's going on inside it, and potentially also decorating it too early.
They haven't put the dowels in, have they?
No, they haven't put the dowels in. Or they haven't put them in properly. See, listen to him, he sounds like a professional.
How do you know this?
Like I say, I've known her for a few years now.
He's crafty him.
Yeah, but I can't remember where I was now. So process, yeah. So bake the cake, let it settle overnight, and then you start after day 2 is when it all starts. So then you cut the tops off and you start filling it, doing the crumb coat. Then you put the final crumb coat on, and then it needs to settle again. So overnight, settle again, and then you start stacking it. And then once it's stacked, then you decorate it. I'll tell you what is nerve-wracking with a sugar paste cake is delivering it unstacked. So say, for instance, it's a 4-tiered wedding cake. You've got 4 tiers in separate boxes, and you deliver them to the venue in those 4 boxes. And at the venue, you've then got to stack it on site and do the finishing touches. Sometimes you have to do that with an audience, and that's horrific because it's quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know, you can imagine.
Having people watching you work, especially when you're used to, because it's quite solitary, you know, as a cake maker, you're on your own, working, messy, stuff all over the place, and you don't have an audience. But when you're stacking at a venue and you've got people watching you, it can be quite intimidating and quite worrying because it is a big thing.
Definitely, yeah. And I also think, like, do you ever say to the venues, where's the cake going? Because
I think, my God.
I know you're probably thinking, this happens all the time.
All over the show,
does,
don't we?
Yeah. It was one of the things that I was hoping that you bring up.
Yeah,
because
I think from our point of view, the amount of times I've seen the venue go, the cake's going to go there, but they're going to cut the cake over there, and then once that's going to move it over there. And there's a lot of homes that the cake's going to move in, and you think, with a cake, it's like,
you don't really want to be moving it around too much. I've actually seen it. I don't know if you should have told me this story as well. Some venues won't allow you to stick around to like put it together if you like. I don't know if this is you or our mates from Villanova. Shout out Villanova. Do you know them?
No.
Really good, by the way. But they said that, or maybe you went to a venue and the venue said, we'll put it together for you. Don't worry, you just go.
You can't
and then they stack it incorrectly then. No, it's happened.
Yeah, I've had that, but no, that cake's mine until I take shots of it.
Yeah, of
assembled,
course. Yeah.
perfect, looking pristine, and then I walk away. So if that means me delivering, sometimes you get a room turnaround. So the ceremony, the wedding breakfast will be in the same room as the ceremony, and they don't want the cake on display while the ceremony's taking place.
All the time.
Yeah, a lot of the time, yeah. I prefer to deliver while they're doing the room turnaround, because once that cake's set up on the stand, it's there. I don't want anyone touching it, because if someone then goes to, and they're heavy, someone goes to try and move it and it cocks up, that's the wedding photos ruined.
We obviously, when we're coming to, like, a lot of people when they're in the wedding day, to people who do know this or not, what a lot of venues will say about cutting your wedding cake, they'll give you options, and we'll probably speak about this in a sec, but most of the time they'll cut the cake, then they'll move the cake out the way in the same place that you'll probably have your first dance, like on a dance floor, whatever. And the amount of times they look to us to move it for them, and I'm a bit like, I will, but I'm slightly unwilling, because they are heavy.
Yeah.
So you can't just pick this table up and this thing just comes with you, especially if you haven't got somebody who's... If you haven't got someone who's like put the dials in, like I've mentioned there, and the cake you can see is already going, especially in summer, you're like reluctant to like touch that with anyway. But that happens all the time, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm not going to name the venue, but I know a certain venue will put the cake in the wedding breakfast room, and then the couple will cut the cake on the dance floor, which is in an entirely separate room, going downstairs.
Yeah.
So they're taking the cake from a certain level down the stairs to the dance floor. And I can remember saying this to the people who are moving. I said, and I don't know whether they'll listen or not, because they have said they do. I think I said to them, that cake's going to go there. Yeah, and of all the years of being doing this, the cake's never fell. The cake fell.
And it fell.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Do you ever have phone calls, people saying the cake's gone, you need to come back?
I've had a phone call where someone else has made the cake and the venue's rung me to come and sort it out.
Oh, because it's not being...
Because it's not standing, basically.
Oh, spelling mistakes on the cake?
It's leaning. I've done that.
Yeah.
I have done that. It's where it's actually leaning against the wall.
Oh,
so
my God.
they can't move it, because if they did, it'd just slide
Take
down.
the wallpaper off.
Yeah.
I was going to bring this up actually, and I'm only saying it now because it's right in the subject. Is what are your thoughts about, like you say, you know, there's a lot of hobbyist bakers out there. What are your thoughts on like DIY wedding cakes? You know, where like they've got their mate or something to do it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
There's a call for it. You know, everyone's got a budget.
Yeah, of course.
Not everyone can afford £400, £500, £600, £700 for a wedding cake.
Yeah. Is that the price then? Is that the average price for a wedding cake?
It depends whereabouts in the country you are and who you're talking to, which cake maker you're talking to.
Really?
Yeah. Wedding cakes can go upwards of $2-3 grand. It depends on the size of it, how many tiers. Sugar flowers can be more expensive than the actual cake, which is why I don't offer them anymore.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're talking about, if you've got sort of a 6-tier wedding cake with cascading roses and foliage and what have you going all the way down, those sugar flowers can be £500-600 on their own. It's a do, but there's a lot of time. This is what people don't understand. They don't understand the time that goes into making all these beautiful things. You know,
speaking of time, then how long does it take you to do it?
What, a wedding cake from scratch?
Average,
3 or 4 days.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So basically, what couples need to take into account is they're paying for obviously the skill, but also what I think a lot of people do forget is the time involved.
Yeah.
Because 3 to 4 days is a lot, isn't it?
It's not just the time making the cake either. It's the time that you spend with the customer beforehand.
It's
creating
marketing,
the design,
it's
doing the
everything.
sketch, having a consultation.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot more involved with wedding cakes than there are with birthday cakes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get birthday cakes that are more intricate than a wedding cake.
What about my birthday cake? How long does that take you?
You're nearly a week.
No.
Yeah.
Was
nearly
you
a week. Not the cake, but the bits for on it.
Yes.
You know? It's a lengthy process. So going back to wedding cakes and sugar flowers and roses and what have you, it can take 3 or 4 days to do one. Obviously, you have a conveyor belt, so you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
a long process.
A long process. Yeah.
You mentioned then, about when couples choose the friend to do the cake for them.
Yeah.
How do you feel about when couples do it for photographers and videographers?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Well, no, it's not, I suppose.
When you know, you hear a couple going, oh yeah, my mate's got a camera, they're going to do the photos.
I mean, I probably think the way that you think, which is they'll probably do a job, but not as good as a job. Because there's a difference between someone being able to do like a standalone, you know, they might make cakes in the spare time, or they might take pictures in the spare time, but then putting that all into practice to come up to such a prestigious day where you haven't got to take 2 and you haven't got, you know, any room for real error or anything like that. And then afterwards, like the counter effect of what happens after that day. You know,
my cake looked terrible, or my photos were all wonky.
Terrible, and that happens. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm not against it. I get the reasons why. I also understand the sentiment behind it. Like, to be able to say like, oh, our wedding photos were taken by our friend, goes probably a lot further than our wedding photos were taken by a complete stranger to some degree. And probably the cake's the same. You know, like
you do get a lot of
me
my
nan's auntie who's
and
like, I don't know, she was me nan's best friend for years, so she's not really our auntie, but she's like part of the family, and you know, she was there when my nan was in the war, or whatever it might be. Like, I'm just hypothetical, but like that person means a lot more to them than like a real baker, if you want to call it that.
But so, the cakes taste like shit, and the photos are crap.
The thing is, the cakes might taste like shit, but the sentiment sometimes wins.
Yeah.
So, speaking of taste, then, do you know? Because I always think this is from like a wedding point of view. Because with cake on a wedding day, I always think, are people like too drunk? Do you think people should be starting to cut the cakes at different
something
times?
I say
a good point.
Very good point. Very good point. And it's something I mention at
back.
every consultation that I do. Make sure you tell your venue that you want your cake cutting just after your first dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you want them, say for instance, they're having a buffet.
Yeah.
That's the perfect time to bring the cake out.
Yeah, it is.
Don't bring the cake out at 10:30 when everyone's pissed.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to want to eat cake.
No.
Bring it out when people are still slightly compos mentis, and will eat the cake. Otherwise, you end up taking it home with you. Like
Well, that's one thing that I've always
150 slices of cake.
stumbling out the wedding like, oh, boss, there's cake in it.
14
But-
pieces of cake in their hands.
Yeah.
And well, that's what happens then, because some people don't see the cake then when it's that late. They've missed it. They've missed the table
Completely.
where it is.
Or they just think it is just cake, not the cake.
Yeah.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes the venue don't cut the cake at all.
No, I've seen that as well.
This is another one. From a venue's point of view, do you speak to them about displaying it? Do you speak
To the
about
venue?
do you ever like have a
Like, how much is the interaction between you
Yeah.
and the venue?
The interaction usually takes place a couple of days before.
Yeah.
You give them a ring and arrange delivery and what have you. The bride tends to stipulate to the venue whereabouts they want the cake going. But sometimes that conversation doesn't take place. And as a wedding cake maker, when you've spent sometimes up to a week making this stunning cake and you get to the venue and they ask you, well, they don't even ask you. The cake table's there in front of a fire extinguisher, or a buttercream cake in front of a radiator, or do you know what I mean? It's just not something it's not thought about.
I was supposed to say some venues
at all.
are like stuck in the ways where they go, that's where all our cakes go, so it's gonna have to go there. But you're like, but it shouldn't belong there.
No,
It should be a
because
better
it's
place.
a big part.
Yeah.
It's a big part of the day.
Well, you know, the couple have spent a lot of money on it, on a
Exactly.
cake, and they want to display it in a.
Yeah. And there are ways, really easy ways, of making your wedding cake sing. First thing is to make sure that if it's on a table with a cloth on it, get the venue to iron the tablecloth beforehand. Don't let it have creases all over it. Preferably make sure that the tablecloth reaches the floor and you can't see all the crap that's underneath it. Make
Can't
sure
see the
that
£2 table that it's on.
yeah, make sure that whatever's behind it is going to complement your pictures, not detract from it. I did a wedding cake a couple of years ago. It was gorgeous. It was a little buttercream top tier and then 100 cupcakes underneath it. And the reception was it was in a function room. But they had a buffet table and then the cake set up with it. Well, I had to set the cake up right in front of this acrylic poster of a champagne bottle exploding. So any photos that were taken of that cake, you'd have got the flashback from the acrylic photo poster behind it. The pictures that I got looked crap because you couldn't even see the detail on the cake.
Yeah.
And you just think, you know, they've spent so much money on it. Make it look nice.
Yeah. I was going to say about like, in one of the points that we've got written down is like expectations versus reality. Like, that goes the same for like photos and videos though, isn't it, as
I
well?
think so. I think the cake cut, it's a funny one for me. This is what I was going to say is like, some people view it as important, some people not.
Yeah.
Some people want it personal, some people don't. Some people make it like a big occasion and there will be like a moment where the dance floor will get cleared, for example, the couple are put in place and then there's like a countdown or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there isn't, sometimes there isn't even a cake at all.
I was going to say about the latest trend that seems to be a thing with cake cutting is doing it privately and having like an intimate moment.
I've seen a lot of private ones.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I've seen a lot of people love that like direct flash at the moment from a photography
An
standpoint.
editorial point of view.
Editorial cake cut,
Yeah.
where it's like more like a champagne spray, but they just so happen to be cutting a cake at the same time.
Yeah.
It's got the same type of infusion of energy, but it's that moment.
I think, do you give people like a class how to cut the cake?
You do.
The couples?
I provide a cutting guide. Yeah.
She does, because you sort of, you got a cake offer, but I also got a cake offer as well. I got Effie's christening cake offer.
Yeah.
There
is
No,
ways
but what I
to
mean,
cut
like
it.
for the couple, when
and
the
she gave
couple,
us a cutting guide.
when the couple,
Oh yeah.
For
I
the
mean,
couple's
tell
point
you
of view.
what, do you know what blows their mind?
Go on.
The fact that you can freeze it.
Blown my mind as
blew
well.
my mind.
Yeah.
as well.
So it literally blows every bride that comes in. It blows their mind to know that they can actually, if they've got any cake left over, they can freeze it. And it's something I say to all
How
of
do
them.
you
So
unfreeze it though?
you defrost it. What a stupid question.
I know.
No, I know, yeah, but I mean, I just think because you get told, but you get told to put cake, don't put cake in the fridge by some people. Then some people say, do put cake in the fridge.
No,
But
don't put cake in the
My experience
fridge.
is when you put cake in the fridge, it does dry it out.
Yeah, it goes
So I'm
hard.
thinking if it goes frozen solid and then you've got to defrost it and thaw it out. Well, how does that work?
Do you want me to
Right.
upset, before we go on to this, do you want me to really upset you? My mum used to spend a lot of money on like our 18th birthday cakes. She's got 4
Yeah.
kids, so she's done it for every single one of us. and this is the bit you're not probably going to like. And it was one of the reasons why I was tempted to do the same until I got your message saying you need to eat the cake. My mum used to keep the cakes for like a year on it and wouldn't let anyone eat it and just leave it. And
like a decoration? And then what? Chuck it?
So she bought it and you couldn't cut it?
Couldn't cut it. So basically what she'd do is she'd have it on display in the kitchen, right? So every time someone come in the kitchen, I know, you're probably thinking,
Not
what?
gutted
I can
though,
see
if
your
it was your
skin crawling
birthday
there.
cake.
Do you know what it was? It was like because you could see they were expensive and the attention to detail as you spend a lot of time doing it. My mum felt like it'd be a waste of time to just
like a
sort of
showpiece.
basically, yeah. So whenever someone new comes to the house who's never seen it before, it was like, whose birthday's it been?
Oh
Because
my
this
God.
big huge cake would be there with lots of personal like touches to it. And yeah, and then what we used to do was after it come, we'd go, oh mum, let's just get rid of it now because it's, you know, I'm 21 now.
It's off. Cake started to talk to me, mum.
It's fluffy. No, I'm joking. It never went that bad, but we'd just have like a cake fight then in the kitchen.
Oh my
That's
God.
nice.
Do you know what that reminds me of? When I was a kid, I used to be friends with a girl called Catherine Woodall. And I was proper into Barbies and she was proper into Barbies. But they were a bit more well off than we were. And she had every single Barbie doll that came out, she got, but she wasn't allowed to play with them. They had to stay in the box. And she had this shelving all the way around her bedroom. And she had all these Barbie dolls boxed on these shelves. But she wasn't allowed to play with them. And I'm like,
That's sad, isn't
Put
it?
in mind,
From a
how
kid's point of view.
sad is
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
that-
it's a bit like your
here's
mum
what
with
you
your
could have won.
birthday cake.
Yeah.
That's sorry that.
Made in Chelsea's Georgia Toff, millionaire, down-to-earth wedding.
I loved it.
You liked it?
I loved it.
Was it down to earth?
Yeah, she,
Well,
had,
she got married. Where did she get married?
she got married in Scotland.
So she, basically,
There's
a lot
not-
of,
there's
I
not-
just didn't really look at like the actual ins and outs of the
outs of
wedding
it.
day, but I've seen some of her wedding pictures,
Right.
and some of them she was like, I think it was like in a nan's
So this is
kitchen,
what-
eating jam on toast.
Oh,
Jam on
nice.
toast
She
in his
walked to the
nan's
venue.
house.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
think what's refreshing for me when you see people of high profile doing very simple things is it reminds me / should remind everybody else of the sentiment and the meaning. Forget about like we're doing it for the show, which a lot of people, celebrities especially, are fond of.
Yeah.
They're doing it for all the right reasons.
And with a good point, they got married in the same church as his grandparents.
That's it.
Which is another nice thing, I think. And also what made me think of the jam on toast thing, choice of breakfast on a wedding morning. What would you say?
A lot of people don't have breakfast, do they?
No, but I think you should on a
You
wedding
should,
day.
because you probably don't eat the whole day.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
I know a lot of venues, if they're nice venues, definitely they'll provide like a breakfast platter to the room, don't they, when they're getting ready.
What did you have for your wedding breakfast?
What did I have? I wasn't brought any platters or anything like that, but ours wasn't like a venue like that. It was more like a do-it-yourself venue.
Yeah.
But I went out for a 5k run in the morning of mine, so I think I just got something on the way back.
Oh, what an athlete he is, eh?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I just went for a 5k run, you know, just
It was a local park run to Cornwall, by the way, so I had to...
take the sights in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But another thing that they did, which I think's a really nice modern way of getting married, and I think I would incorporate this into my wedding day, which is both staying together the night before.
Both
Staying together the night
stayed
before.
together the night before.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, because I think for example, if I ever work away or Beth's ever away for some reason, I feel like I don't settle.
Yeah.
So I feel like I would be more
in your head.
yeah,
Yeah.
being like, where is she?
I get that. 'Cause
Yeah.
my husband plays table tennis a lot. He does a lot of table tennis tournaments all across the country. And because I'm busy
Yeah.
over weekend, I have all my birthday cake collections and wedding cake deliveries and God knows what on a Saturday, so I tend to not be able to go with him. And I hate going to bed.
On your
and him
own?
Not yeah,
Yeah.
I just never sleep. And I
Yeah.
know he's the same.
Yeah.
And he's in a nice hotel room.
Yeah.
But neither of us sleep. You just
Yeah.
don't settle, do you?
No, I agree with
There's a
that.
comfort to it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of modern couples...
We'll do a poll on that.
No, I think it's a good poll to have as well. But just talking about, I actually had a kind of a bit of a wedding of the week, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, do it.
Because I did Josh and Cassie's wedding a couple of weeks ago. Josh and Cassie, Josh.
What a great name, by the way.
You'll remember from Kev and...
I do remember your best man. Lovely speech.
Yeah, best man.
Where was I?
So I might have mentioned him previously, but his son is in the same school as my daughter at the moment. So he's picked me up from that. And I did their wedding the other week, but they did all of those things. So they did it on their terms. They stayed together the night before. I think they even, to some degree, came to the venue together as well.
Yeah, big fan of that.
And everything was just dead like them about it. Like even the conversation after, they didn't do like a big meal spread for everybody. They went to St. George's Hall, obviously a favourite venue of ours. They kind of rocked up together-ish. They had a small intimate ceremony, and then they let everyone else go to Riva Blue, which is a restaurant in Liverpool, if you don't know. And they just had like a bit of a drink and
in the basement,
like a bit of a meal in the basement there.
Yeah, lovely. But I also think like some couples feel so anxious of the morning of the wedding day because they're not with the other half.
Yeah.
That makes sense, or they're not allowed to see them.
Probably got a bit of separation anxiety.
Yeah, I think it's because you're not allowed. I get not seeing the dress. I get all that, making that a bit of like a reveal
Statement.
Yeah, but I think I would incorporate the first look between me and Beth as well. I don't think I'd do it on the aisle. I think I'd want to just see it on my own.
I think that's lovely. That's quite recent. That first look, isn't it?
It's very American, isn't it?
And I think it's lovely. Yeah. And I think the photo opportunity from that first look is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, the closest thing that I've done to a first look was when Bethan and Nikki did
the holding.
They didn't do a first look. They did like a bit of a first touch. Would you call it that?
Yeah.
It's probably to explain what I mean. Basically, they didn't see each other officially, but because they'd spent that time apart. I think they did spend the time apart the night before, didn't they? They basically found somewhere in their venue where there was like a bit of a wall that could separate them and be in the same room but be separate still. Mm-hmm. So one of them, they both stood back to back to this wall and they allowed each other to reach around the wall to hold each other's hands. And we got that profile down the wall, so you can see it's both them for us, but they only had each other's hands to touch,
like the OG blind date.
And like I can see you're like in your seat, like, because it made the hair stand on the back.
That's lovely.
It was beautiful, and they wanted that. That was like a shot that they pre-thought, and it was such a nice moment.
I think they even like spoke to one another as well to make you're all right, you're okay, and they could like give you a little squeeze, couldn't they? Then it was nice.
I loved that. Their day was one of the standout days for me, still of all time.
And we love the loves.
Yeah, the loves.
Are we on to
adopt as well, by the way?
Ryan's
segment? Oh, we there already?
Yeah, we're there.
So
jump straight in, sir.
So there was two things I was actually going to bring. One, we'll save them for next week now because I did forget it. It's just me in a nutshell. The other thing, which is actually quite good, you don't know about this, but I've adopted this like segment of the week where I'll bring something in related to a Wednesday, past or post, whatever, and talk about it.
Right.
And I normally just put a bit of a spitball on and it's kind of out there and whatever, and we all get our own take. But I thought, you bring cakes to everybody else all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if someone brought her a cake back? But not just any cake.
Oh my God.
So you might even know who this person is. So there's a lady.
I don't like where it's coming from, to be honest with you.
No, it's not in that. It's actually in this.
Oh.
Special. So I went and picked these up this morning from a place which you may know of. You might not because you're in that neck of the woods. But there's a place on College Road in Crosby called 156.
Yeah.
Which I'm a massive fan of, and I've told you about numerous of times. And if you've never been, or if you're thinking of going, definitely do go, because as well as the food being beautiful, they do have a selection of cakes fresh every single week, and those cakes are made by a lady named Flo. Now, Flo is the owner's mum, I believe.
So, can I just do this?
Go on.
Excuse me, Flo,
like the TV show, but she's the owner's mum. But what's special about Flo is she was actually on one of the earlier series of Bake Off, and I believe did really, really well. And if you actually go to number 156, which is the name of the shop, her apron that she actually wore for the show is displayed in a little placard about how she got on and stuff like that. But she makes them fresh every single week. And when I had one for the first time, and I always remember it, my first ever Victoria sponge at said cake shop, even though it's not a cake shop, I couldn't get it out of my mind. So every time I go there, even if we go for breakfast and it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'll still get a cake, which obviously is not great for your health, but it's great for your taste buds.
Yeah.
So I went there this morning on the way back from a walk on the beach.
Beth is going to be devastated.
Well, that's why when you said she wasn't coming today, I was thinking she's fucking missed a trick here. So it has hit the box a little bit because I did tip it up. But I bought 3 cakes. And I'd like us to do like a bit of a taste test.
Like a bake-off taste off?
Bit of a bake-off taste
Paul
test,
Hollywood.
Nice.
Is that his name, Paul Hollywood?
Now, I didn't go for like traditional ones. I went for kind of like the cuppy cake stuff, so it's easier to move around.
Yeah.
The slabs that they give out, they are thick.
Yeah.
But I brought these. I don't know if you can see them on the camera.
Oh, they look amazing.
Have you got a fork?
I No, I've got hands.
Oh.
So this one's like a biscoffy cupcake type of situation. I can't remember what the sponge was made out of, but you've got this, like, you probably call that buttercream on the top, and like a bit of a cinnamon biscoff biscuit and stuff like that. This one is
there's one gone.
This one is a almond topped bake slice, whatever you want to call it, like that.
Very nice.
And then this one is like a pistachio infused kind of flake topping, all on sponge. I think the sponge is all made out of the same thing, but I thought I'll bring it in because I would like to see what you think about how they taste.
Can I tell you something? There is nothing better as a cake maker than eating other people's cake.
There you go.
Can you taste something and go, I'm going to add that like 5 ml of sugar in there? Like,
Because recipes, isn't it? That is like,
Yeah.
there's obviously,
Really?
Can you not tell the difference?
Well, yeah, you can. I mean,
Your taste buds must be off the chain, like.
yeah, they are, but you
Shit,
kind of, do you know what? The novelty wears off.
Yeah.
Especially with your own cake. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got cake off cuts every week. Loads of cake off cuts.
Your
Everyone used
family.
to say, "Oh yeah, I'll have your cake off cuts."
They all got balls of it.
After a couple of weeks, you're like, "Can't. Yeah, no, I've had enough now. I don't want
surrounded
any
by
more."
it, aren't you?
So to have someone else's cake is a big deal. It's nice because you've not had to make it. So it's like going out for a meal instead of cooking tea.
Yeah, I get
It's the
it.
same thing.
Yeah.
I can't have any pistachio though because
That's
I'm
all right, I'll eat
allergic.
it. I'll eat that.
How does that go then when if someone ever asks you, do you just say, can't do it?
I don't do any allergen-related bakes. Well, I say I don't.
That's probably a good thing though, isn't it,
No,
really?
I do. It's tricky subject that because you've got to be able to 100% guarantee no cross-contamination.
Yeah.
Which is hard, isn't it?
It is with nuts. With nuts, I mean, nut allergy is terrible because it can kill you.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. My cousin's got a very severe...
really bad nut allergy. So there are intolerances and then there's allergies. Intolerances I will bake for because although you can't guarantee that there's not going to be a cross-contamination, you can bake the thing without gluten.
Yeah.
Yeah? Whereas with a nut allergy, you cannot guarantee that something is completely nut-free unless you are working in a completely nut-free environment.
Yeah.
And I use Nutella and almonds and
Yeah, it's not worth the risk, is it?
but I can't use pistachios.
That's
Unfortunately,
mad, isn't it?
I love pistachios.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
Me
can't
and
eat
Josh
them.
will have that one.
So you two can have that, and I'll have the other two.
I don't know how we're gonna taste it. We probably won't be able to taste it like right now on air because
Yeah,
it'll probably
it'd
be
be
dead messy. But I just thought it was a good talking point to actually see about cakes, other people's cakes, and I think you've got a topic on it about like other bakers. Is that a topic?
Before we get on to that topic, though, I've got some cakes of my own.
Oh!
I didn't come
Listen,
in it
I'm gonna be-
empty-handed, you know?
I'm going to be rolling out of here.
So where can I show these off?
So this is your camera straight
So is that
ahead
my
here.
camera? You're not going to be
If
able
you
to
want,
see.
you lift the higher towards your face, basically. Yes, we can see it there in all its glory. What a lovely presentation as well.
So this is one of my most popular wedding flavours, but it's only really good from autumn to spring because it's quite rich. It's bueno.
Oh,
So it's chocolate sponge and it's filled with, I'm going to do a shout out here.
go on.
Cocoa King.
Cocoa King.
Cocoa King.
Shout out Coco King.
Shout out to Adam at Cocoa King. So it's filled with Cocoa King's Nutella, which is the best
The best.
hazelnut. Yeah, I mean, it knocks Nutella into a cocked hat. It's gorgeous. You'll taste it and you'll understand where I'm coming from.
have to.
And so it's filled with that, and then it's topped with white chocolate and hazelnut buttercream, and then it's got a Nutella drizzle on the top and a piece of Kinder Bueno. So make sure Beth gets one of them, please.
She
I know
will.
she's poorly.
Well, you've said it now on bloody air, haven't I, Karen?
and Beth, there are 6 of them. So just so you're
Well, I
aware.
need 4 for us, so and Jonah won't eat it. So
No, you won't have any.
we'll divvy them up.
Yeah,
we've
we
got
will.
cakes coming out of our ears, though, haven't we?
We
But
have, yeah.
Are we gonna try one now?
I mean, you could try.
No, I don't want to try your ones. I want to try Lindsay's ones.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
I
Can I
thought-
open the box?
Yeah.
What we're basically doing is we're tasting this Cocoa King Nutella infused Kinder Bueno cake that Lindsay's kindly made us.
It's
I
just,
feel like over the past few weeks, all we've done is eat on this. Didn't I bring in something the other week? Cakes again?
Yeah, you are a bit of a sweet
Bit of a
tooth.
feeder, aren't I?
Yeah.
No.
I might eat mine then first because mine
Go on then,
melted.
give us what do you think?
Whole thing in your mouth in
Yeah,
one go,
one
please.
shot.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of it. So you get to taste it all together.
Okay.
It's a messy little thing.
It is. That's because it's fresh.
Get the ASMR going. What else does they do? Snap the things, don't they, on the thing?
Oh, on the ASMR videos?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the nails. It's
Ugh.
We haven't
do you
spoke
think?
for about 5 minutes. People are like,
What's
"Hey
going
there."
on? What's going on? For all the
For the
audio.
audio listeners, we're actually eating cake as we speak.
Wow.
Massive fan of that.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I want more, which is a good thing, but a bad thing at the same
Well,
time.
you've got-
I know.
you've got plenty
I've got
there.
Yeah, the
loads.
box is 6, and we've got to divvy this pistachio one up, and you're going to have some of them.
What? I've never watched Bake Off. You say don't
Say-
hate on me.
So this is probably you'll probably get like a Baked Cake and Nation coming after us for this, because obviously you'll have your cake fans, and there are cake fans out there who aren't actually into making cakes. But I've never really understood the fascination and the
what?
the culture of
Bake Off.
Baking.
Bake Off's on.
Oh,
Do you know
it's
what I mean?
brilliant. It's funny.
But I think that I thought the same about Strictly, and I'm a massive Strictly fan.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
Strictly.
Right, I'm going in.
We're going in.
for the
Can't
almonds.
do this delicately
I
because
might
it's
have to
huge.
just move your camera a little touch.
That's really good. I'm having another bite. Sorry.
Well, that's only got to go between. Well, you basically, because I brought it in for you.
Yours,
That's really
that.
good. Thank you.
Well, you know when you,
out of 10.
I'll wait for you to like chew it and that, and I'll just eat mine at the same time.
What a weird. What is you even?
Bad one to say, isn't it? If there's anything else, there'd be loads of lovely little sound bites for you to make into a clip.
Yeah.
When do you know when you taste, like obviously we've just tasted yours and we're tasting a cake essentially, and
Yeah.
we'll just go, is it nice or not? Do you know when you taste other people's cakes, like you've just mentioned there, do you try and think about the flavors infused, or do you understand like the textures? Because when I ate them, I felt that definitely the first one I ate, I was like, I could actually taste the difference and the texture between hairs, flows, and like ordinary cakes that I would have ate previously. Do you find that?
Yeah.
Do you undress it in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of... Breaking it down, there's different types of sponge. Yeah?
Yeah.
Come on. Continue.
Yeah, so there's different types
That's
of... There's different types of sponge, and that sponge... People use a specific sponge for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I don't carve cakes. You know the big carved cakes
Yeah.
where it's carved into a shape and what have you? I don't do them. The only reason why I don't do them is because I'm really bad at ratio, and your ratio needs to be spot on. I remember once doing a caravan carved cake with a man stood next to the caravan doing the barbecue, and the man was taller than the caravan.
Yeah.
So I just, it's something I don't do.
Giant next to the caravan.
Yeah, just look ridiculous. So I don't do them. But if someone was doing a carved cake,
Yeah.
they'd use Madeira sponge.
I like Madeira cake.
It's nice, but it's very firm. It's quite dense. It is nice, but it's dense, quite firm. So when you
That's
cut
like a
it,
slab, innit?
yeah. So when you cut it, it retains its shape and it still stays quite firm. Whereas a Genoese sponge is like eating a cloud. It's really light.
Yeah.
Though they
Love them
like doing
Genoese as me.
they like doing Genoese on Bake Off.
I was about to say, all the Bake Off fans who are listening, like, I know exactly what
Yeah.
you're going on
Genoese,
about.
yeah.
Slay girl.
Keep telling me about them sponges.
Yeah, but Genoese, you couldn't really
Not shapeable.
do it. You couldn't really make a wedding cake with it because you do need, although your dowels that you insert into each tier to hold the tier above it stable, although they do carry most of the weight, you do need the cake to be stable enough to support itself, and a Genoese just wouldn't do that. So although it tastes nice and it's nice mouthfeel, it's not very good for making wedding
Not
cakes.
practical.
Not practical. Speaking of being like practical and the cake being stable, if you are travelling around the Northwest, have you got to have like a specific cake if it's going on a long journey? Do you say to them, if it's going that far, you need to have this certain type?
Yeah, so if it's going to be, obviously, if I assume you're talking about a bride and groom travelling with the cake themselves.
Or no, yourself.
Or
if
if
you're
you're
me.
delivering
yeah.
it.
Or
Do
me.
you deliver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I deliver right across the Northwest. I don't really like going any further than the Northwest because it's quite terrifying delivering a wedding cake, even if it's just round the corner. But when you start saying 2-3 hours, you know, if you're stuck in traffic, you have no way of controlling what's going on the roads. Yeah. And if you get stuck in traffic in the middle of July with a buttercream cake in the car and you're stuck there for 3 hours, that cake's melted. There's nothing you can do about it as a cake maker. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Does speed matter as well in the van? Do you have something on the back of the van that says, I've got a cake in the car, slow down?
I don't even have a van.
I
don't even have a van. I've got a little Citroen C3 with a really deep boot. But no, you drive very carefully over potholes and speed bumps and what have you. I do have a little sign saying wedding cake on board. No one really pays much attention to that, but you sort of drive to the venue, neurotic, like a little old lady, and the minute you've dropped the cake off, you drive back like Schumacher. So it's just
Vin Diesel.
It's just one of those things. But with regards to how you deliver the cake, a buttercream cake, I prefer to deliver completely stacked. Yeah. So because obviously buttercream is quite soft, and if you try and touch it, it marks. So I don't want to touch it. I prefer to get it perfect in my unit and then deliver it as seen.
As it is.
So the way to do that is to use a central dowel. So it's like a wooden dowel that goes through all the tiers of the cake. It's glued into the cake drum, which is the board that the cake sits on. So you actually drill down into the drum so the dowel sits within the drum, pokes itself up, and then you basically layer each cake onto that dowel. That means that the cake's stable. Yeah. Because each tier's on its own cake card. So that cake card stops the cake from moving, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. That's how I deliver buttercream cakes. Sugar paste cakes, I prefer to deliver them unstacked and stack at the venue. For my own peace of mind. Well, for Colin's peace of mind, because Colin's the one that gets shouted at for driving too fast.
Colin, I was just about to say, sorry, and this might be slightly away from what we just were talking about, but it's still in the realms, because you were talking about the different sponges and whatever. You get a lot of people, and I've seen it, and I don't know if people do know or don't know, because they're always surprised when it is. Do you do many where it's not actually cake? So what I mean by that, a lot of people go for like polystyrene that look like real cake if they've just put like a layer of pastry or whatever, but then there's just a certain part or a certain layer that they can cut.
That's become a bit of a trend. I've seen that.
Is that
where
cheaper?
Not really.
No.
Which is why I don't offer it. It's moderately cheaper, but in my opinion, it's not cheap enough to sway someone from actually having a lump of polystyrene as opposed to a cake.
You're getting something out of that, aren't you?
Yeah, because like I said, you can freeze cake. The only time I would recommend going for dummies is if you want a real statement piece.
Like something stupid.
A big, tiered extravaganza. Yeah, because it's very difficult to fit anything over 14 inches into an oven anyway. But
well, I'm out.
For 14. So a 14-inch diameter round cake tends to be the biggest that you can behave. Biggest that you can fit in an oven. Anything bigger than that, you need a dummy. But there's also designs, I've got them in my book, where you have sort of a hole between in the cake.
Yeah, I've seen these ones.
Where you have something inside that hole.
Is that polystyrene then part, obviously?
So that tends to be two dummies stacked on top of each other, and it has an arch out of the top and an arch out of the bottom. You put them together and it creates an oval. But you can also have there's some that are called a theatre style where it's a dummy that's shaped like that. Now, if you're doing something like that, dummies are brilliant. If you're doing it as a cost-saving exercise, there's not that much difference. No. So, not enough to warrant it.
While we're talking about the cost for the couples and stuff like that, let's say me and Ryan are a couple.
Go on.
Right, and we're planning our big day.
You'll get me a mouse.
And we come to your office, studio, cake
consultation.
Do people come to you?
Yes.
Like can knock on your door and go, can I make a cake?
I've got a physical unit. It's in what used to be an old primary school.
Oh, cool.
And attached to my cake unit, I also have a cake suppliers and sugarcraft shop for other cake makers to come and buy boards, boxes, paste.
You sell everything?
I sell everything to other cake makers, as well as make cakes myself. So the entrance is the same regardless which one you come into, but then I have a consultation area in the front.
Is that the first, would you say that's the first, like, start of the process for the couple?
If they haven't seen you online.
If they've seen me on, most people get in touch either via the website, so they Google, my website comes up, they send a contact form or whatever, or they go onto my social media and they send a message. I would always prefer to invite someone for a consultation because they get to taste the cake. You know, they get to taste up to 4 flavours.
I must admit, that's a massive selling point, I think, for couples.
It is.
Yeah.
But also, it creates a bit of excitement.
Definitely, yeah.
And it gets the groom involved as well. Yeah. Or, you know, or the mum or whatever. So they get to try some cake. They get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. They get to have a look at my dummy cakes. We get to talk about textures, colours, sizes, you know, how many they're catering for.
Does the book come out at that point?
The book comes out at that point, yeah. And sometimes the sketch pad can come out at that point. So it can be quite a creative process. I love it. I really love it. And they tend to love it as well. Yeah, so...
It's part of the experience as well. Like, we had Jess on last week, didn't we? Sticks and Stems. Shout out Sticks and Stems. Can I just say, Sticks and Stems, side point, is our highest grossing episode. And I'll say that in terms of listeners across all channels by a fair bit as well.
Yeah, she's done well.
So, hats off to Jess. But also saying, to connect you to there, is Jess doesn't have, like, a space where people... can knock on the door. She does have a space, a studio, where she sets it up similar to herself, but she's not like a knock on the door approach.
Yeah.
So also was tying together there is like, that's an experience, isn't it? To be able to like feel like you're physically part of the process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's what people love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely. And then from then onwards, when they've come in, they've done the consultation and stuff like that, is it like a deposit booking process?
Yeah, so once they've decided what they want, depends actually on when the wedding is. So it's quite difficult to give a confirmed price, anything up to sort of 8-9 months before the wedding, because at the moment, people will know anyway from their own food shopping, ingredients are going up and down like a yo-yo at the moment. It's crazy. Eggs have just gone up again, butter's just gone up again, chocolate is insane. You used to pay £90 for a 15-kilo bag of white chocolate Calais. They're like chocolate buttons.
Yeah.
And every sugar paste cake I do has got white chocolate ganache on it. So I use a lot of white chocolate in wedding season. So £90 for a 15-kilo sack. That same sack is now nearly £300.
Oh, my Lord.
Considerably different.
So
that is a massive difference.
Yeah, it's huge. It's over trebled in price. But that's across the board. Everything's gone up.
Yeah.
And yes, ideally it would be lovely if prices could come down, but it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, definitely not.
So, you know, you've got to have that in the back of your mind when you are wanting to book your wedding cake and you're getting married in 2027.
Do you have people that far in advance booking?
Yeah. I mean, I don't do anything confirmed.
Right.
I will pencil in the slot, but I would never confirm pricing until 8-9 months before.
So here's one for you. Can you all... It's different for us because we can only be at one place at one point. Is the same for yourself, is it? Or can you do a few weddings on one day depending on location?
The most I've done and the most I would ever do is 3.
3, yeah.
But it needs to be timed right.
Yeah.
So the deliveries need to be quite close together, area-wise, and they need to be at staggered different times of the day. But I don't really like doing that. I prefer... all of my bride and grooms to have their own special day.
I agree with that.
I think we're all on that page.
And then you're not running up and down like a headless chicken. And also, I've explained to you already the time involved in making a wedding cake. So if you times that by 2 or 3, it can get quite chaotic.
Especially if they're all due the same day.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Question time? Have we got some questions?
We have. Are you? Is there anything you want to add before we go on question time?
You wanted to mention about your workshops?
Yes. So for any cake makers who are out there listening,
you can consult the camera for this one. You're on the spot.
So any cake makers who are out there listening, I've briefly touched on the fact that I've got a sugarcraft and cake supply shop. It's in Walton, just off County Road, and it's called the Caker's Toolbox, and we stock everything you could possibly need to make any kind of cake. You name it, we've got it. And yeah, it would be nice if people could pop in and have a look. Through the Caker's Toolbox, I'm going to be doing classes. So I'll be doing beginners sort of classes on buttercream, sugar paste, that kind of thing. I'm doing a pricing masterclass, which should be interesting, on the 17th and the 18th of March. It's all on my socials, where I will be showing other cake makers how to accurately price up a cake so they're actually making at least minimum wage for a living. And yeah, so that's
really good.
That's me, basically.
Are we gonna do an aisle chat special in the uni?
Well, I was just thinking that because we've never like really put this out there, but as well as doing these types of episodes where we're in our studio and we're talking and inviting people on, that's great. But what we really want to try and do is do more like specials. So we kind of did it once when we went to West Tower at Christmas time.
Wasn't a
shout out West Tower, but it wasn't a special because it wasn't really infused with them. We just used their space rather than using ours. But what we'd like to do is start like outreaching and making some episodes a bit more special and going off to certain venues or certain providers spaces and actually recording how and what it is that they do. So we spoke about it briefly about Wongs.
Yeah.
They said we can go in and like they'll show us how they make their jewellery and stuff like that, but we'll
Ooh, that'd be
record
good.
it in their place.
Yeah.
But Josh just had the idea, and I thought about it as well when you said it. Can we come in at like a bit of a
No pressure.
a cake masterclass off you at some point where the three of us will
We'd
make
film
the
it
cake?
all.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd film it all. You
Yeah.
could talk us through the process and we'll
Yeah.
put it out there as like a bit of a special.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would-
definitely.
Would people want that is the other question. So this
I
is for
think
the
they would.
listeners, really.
Yeah, I
Let
think
us
that'd
know.
be brilliant.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
it'd
it's
be
good for
brilliant.
everyone, isn't it? Because people are getting to see what goes into making a cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wedding
Because
cake even.
I think that's the reason why we want to do it as well as it's something different for us and something exciting that we can actually get our hands on. We're testing
Get your
ourselves
hands
out
dirty.
in other areas of our like industry, and I think that's really good for us. But I think like you said, it's hard to sometimes help your end customer understand the lengths of what goes into, even for us, like
Yeah.
we have the same problems, don't we? People just think we just turn up on that day, but it's not. It's the years that we've put in to try and like perfect what we create as an art, the editing process that comes obviously after it, the prep in advance of the day, the consultation. So there's more to it than that, but being able to show that in
Yeah.
real life would be great.
Yeah.
So we're not saying like right now,
Yeah.
because I know you're like swimming, but like probably in the more downtime months whenever they happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we come?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
There you go.
Love to have
You
you.
heard it here first.
Yeah.
It's an exclusive
Verbal contract.
Yeah.
Go on.
Definitely.
Question time, Joshy.
question time. But before we do go on to question time,
Mm.
just on the topic of being videographers and photographers, what was your best cutting of the cake for yourself? Do you recall, or biggest cake you've seen?
Biggest cake I've seen, best cutting of the cake I've seen.
I know the biggest cake that I've seen, and let's see if
Was I there?
I think so.
It wasn't. So there's two people that spring to mind,
on.
and I don't know which. I don't know if I'm way off here.
Go on.
But the two people that spring to mind is Natasha and John, and Ryan and Jess.
No,
Theirs was quite big.
I'm going back in the D before
I
COVID.
can't remember more than last week.
Before
mate.
COVID,
don't know.
Susan and Farad.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go on, how big was it?
It was like bigger than the room. Not joking. It was probably to the ceiling. No, what would you say?
It wasn't to the ceiling,
But it wasn't
it was
far off.
bigger than
Big.
your average. Let's put it that way.
Oh, all right then. Let's be honest. It was the size that.
What,
you
from
say?
bottom to
Yeah,
top?
bottom to top. Yeah,
That's
I would
easily
say.
done, you know.
Is it?
Yeah,
just
very
just
easily
so
done.
people know, that bottom to top that we're talking about here is what, about
5 foot.
2 meters, 5 foot, something like that.
I'd say 5 foot.
5 foot table to
It
top.
was a 5 foot cake. Obviously for yourself, you know, Lindsay, you've probably seen that so many times. But for us, and cause the cake was like something off Harry Potter, where it was just a lean and peas, is it?
Yeah.
It was like that, wasn't it? You could see it was going to go at some point. And from a film point of view, I couldn't film it in portrait. So like, I'm filming it, you know,
From the back of the
from
room.
like a 35mm lens, and I'm that close to them. So you're only getting like 2 tiers on my
Yeah.
lens. Bit different from a photographer's point of view because you've got the,
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
No disrespect to them. I love their day as well, by the way. At the Bentley.
at the Bentley. Shout out to
Yeah.
Bentley. And favourite cutting of the cake? Do you have one?
Not necessarily favourite cutting of the cake, but the style of the cutting of the cake I really have a favourite of. So I mentioned it before. I like it when it is made a moment of. I know that a lot of couples want to do it in like private because it might not necessarily be as important, or they wanted their moment for themselves or whatever it might be. But I like it when they get the room involved. And, you know, and maybe it's traditional or whatever, and it's one of the traditional things I do like, and I will stay, in my opinion, hopefully, is where they do have that moment where it's like a bit of a countdown.
Yeah.
And like they're not sure what to do, and like you'd have that little quick talk with them before, and like there's no real way to cut this, you know, it's your cake, you just do it. Obviously you probably hate me saying that, but like
There isn't.
but like you've paid for it, so you cut it and do whatever you want with it. And like you say before, like sometimes they'll have like a little play with it, and you know, a little smear or feed each other. I like that.
Yeah.
So I hope more people keep that up.
I'm a big fan of when they feed each other. I think that's a very like American thing, isn't it? You
Yes,
know, like
it is,
feeding each other. But I'm not a fan of when they try and put each other.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Now,
splatter
that's
fan.
that's dangerous.
Yeah, I'm
Because
not a
there's stuff
splatter
inside,
fan.
isn't there?
Well,
that-
they've got dowels in them.
Yeah.
So that's a horror story waiting
Yeah.
to happen. Because if someone, I've
You've
actually,
seen viral videos.
yeah,
I think-
birthday cake where someone's pushed a kid's head onto
Oh,
the birthday
Yeah,
cake
and it's gone
got a
through them.
dowel.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen that recently. I've actually seen that recently.
Don't like it.
No, me neither.
Right, moving on, because we don't like when kids get hurt.
It's question time.
Oh, do you know what?
Beth, you sacked, girl.
I think you've give Beth a run for the money there. Right, we've got 2 questions. One's off our previous guest, make up by Carla Knight, who we are a huge fan of, and she's put, "What's your favourite flavour / cake / dessert ever?"
Me?
Yes.
Creme brulee.
Creme brulee.
I like a creme brulee.
Creme brulee, cream caramel. If a restaurant has got creme brulee or cream caramel on the menu, that's all I'm interested in. I don't care what mains, don't care what starters. Yeah, creme brulee is my favourite.
So you're that person in the
Cake.
restaurant when they go, "Do you want a dessert menu?" You're like, "Dessert menu? That's what I want first. I don't want nothing else."
Yeah, I do have quite a sweet tooth, yeah.
Yeah. You've got to, haven't you?
Yeah, but cake flavour, I do a really good raspberry and coconut.
Raspberry and coconut.
That's nice. I like something a bit sharper. So raspberry and coconut, because the raspberry cuts through the sweetness of the coconut. And lemon.
Lemon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lemon drizzle with
Have lemon
loads
drizzle.
of lemon syrup.
I was going to get a lemon
What's
drizzle
your
today.
what's your go-to dessert?
Favourite dessert or
Yeah.
cake?
Dessert. At a wedding, let's say wedding dessert.
Oh, someone brings it out. Do you know who does a really good dessert? Platter. I'll just call it that. Our mates at West Tower.
I know, I was
really,
literally gonna say
really
them.
rate them.
What's
Because
on it?
they bring out, I don't even know what it is. It's not.
like 3 different things, isn't it?
It's like a, basically there's this thing that they do. It's like a brownie, but it's like toffee. Is it like toffee smeared across the top?
Yeah.
It's like a coffee top brownie. Toffee top brownie, which is hard to say. But it also comes with like a little side, like a jar with like toffee sauce in it. But it's like
Nice.
really, really thin, really fine, almost caramel-like
Yeah.
sauce. And it also comes with a little chunk of cinder toffee as well on the other side.
nice.
So it's like a bit of an hors d'oeuvres, isn't it, that you can like
You
piece
can dip
together.
in, yeah.
So when we go to like venues and we're lucky enough to get a dessert, which we don't always do, and it's probably only because we're their mates that they sort us out with one, there is really good. I also did have a creme brulee once though when I did second shooting for Adam Joe Roberts, and we had a creme brulee that day, and it
Yeah.
was divine. It
Yeah.
was my first ever creme brulee I ever had.
Oh, love it. Love it.
My favourite dessert. So any venues out there you want to, you know, cheer me up and bring a little dessert over. Sticky toffee pudding.
Sticky toffee pudding's a
Sticky
winner,
toffee
like
pudding,
you
yeah.
can't go wrong with it really. Do you know, for a while, I wouldn't say I snubbed sticky toffee pudding because I definitely didn't. I just didn't know if I like really liked it or not.
Oh,
And
does-
now I absolutely can't get enough of it, to be fair.
I think it's similar to making like an espresso martini. There's measures to sticky toffee pudding.
Yeah.
You can either have too much ice cream, too much.
You can
toffee.
never have too much custard.
Oh,
And you see, I like it with custard.
Do
And
ya?
you can never have too much custard. No.
Actually, I'm like I'm not a fan of custard.
But you know sticky toffee pudding's got dates in it.
You are? What's that?
I did not know that.
What do you mean dates?
Dates.
Are they like little?
Dates.
Like a prune?
Do you know, I don't know what. So it's obviously a dried.
It's
It's like a shriveled up raisin.
Yeah,
but bigger,
yeah,
with,
yeah,
a,
yeah.
with a stone in it. But obviously
Yeah.
the stone's removed to make the sticky toffee pudding.
I didn't know that they had them in.
But sticky toffee pudding, the thing that gives it its toffee taste is the dates.
Nay way.
So there you go, you see. So it's got, technically, one of your 5 a day.
Hey,
Eat all the sticky toffee pudding we
There
can
you go,
then,
yeah.
basically what we're saying.
lovely. Who needs a fruit bowl?
No,
Come on.
exactly.
And the last question is from Illuminati Liverpool. That's how you say it.
Illuminate.
Illuminate. Sorry.
Illuminati.
Illuminati.
He's been watching too many conspiracy videos, this lad.
Do you know what's hard? It's these glasses, they're not mine. What's the tallest cake you've ever made, and how do you stop them from falling over?
So the tallest cake I've ever made was only a 5 tier, but it was each tier was rainbow sponge. So each tier had 7 layers of cake in it because each layer was a different colour. So I would say that each tier was about 6.5, 7 inches tall, and it was a 5-tier cake. It was all black, so when you cut into it, the rainbow tiers just pow, yeah?
That's good, that.
It was really cool. So it was all black, and the outside of it was covered in rainbow ombre hearts from sort of violet up to red. And it was for a pride wedding in the Liver building.
Lovely.
About 4 years ago. And I delivered it fully stacked.
How?
I don't know. Well, it wasn't actually, Colin drove. I don't think I breathed the whole journey because it didn't even have a central dowel in it. It was just
layered.
It was stunning, but I didn't breathe for the whole delivery.
We had counselling for about 5 weeks afterwards.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but it made such a statement because I don't know whether you've ever been in the Liver buildings.
Yeah, it's white, isn't it?
It's white.
Yeah.
Everything is white. So they had white walls, white chairs, a table covered in AstroTurf grass.
Really?
And then this black cake with rainbow hearts all over it, and it just stood out like, it was fantastic. That was my biggest one.
Biggest one, yeah.
Any additional questions?
How do you stop them from falling over? But you've sort of answered that through the
yeah, you just need to make sure it's stable inside. It's what's going on inside that will keep it standing up.
I've got a question which I just thought of then. So obviously we know kind of a little bit about the types of cakes that you've made, the type of cakes that you like to make, the actual toppings or central pieces that you like to have inside it.
Yeah.
Is there a cake you would love to make? And what I mean by that is like, not necessarily about the ingredients, but how it looks or like with a certain theme or whatever like that.
Yeah. I've probably already made my dream cake.
Was it my birthday cake?
No.
Was it the christening cake? Come on.
No, so I'm a big fantasy geek. So anything fantasy, and I am all over it. I still believe in fairies. I am a big Harry Potter fan, and I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And I got asked years ago to do a Lord of the Rings themed wedding cake. And it was one of my very first paying customers who asked me to make the cake. She said, "We want Lord of the Rings themed. Go for it, do what you want." And I did. And I loved every second of it. When a cake maker gets told you've got free reign, it just, it's heaven. Especially when it's a theme that you're really into.
Oh, yeah, million percent, yeah.
So I have got another Lord of the Rings themed wedding cake that I'm in the process of quoting for that is a lot more difficult and ornate than the one I've done previously. You know the white you know the white tower with the cliff coming out the side of it. Is it Minas Tirith it's called?
And that's what
I've got to make that out of cake. So I'm a bit giddy about that.
Do you think you should ever, when you're doing these cakes, and I don't know whether this is true, I don't know where your unit is it like on where people walk past, people can look in and see? No.
Can they see you making it?
No,
they can't. I was going to say,
No, they can't.
No. I was going to say, there'd been a boss like shop window.
To be able to watch. Watch it going on.
Love that.
Obviously, making cakes is a process. Essentially, is a journey. And I think when we spoke before about like where we are in our like worlds, let's just say, and taking that into consideration about these people who are just like monuments of like our specific industries, I think what we're all kind of guilty of is loving the process. And to know that there's always something else above where we are, so it keeps us passionate and keeps us inspired,
keeps you focused,
keeps us on the wheel of like trying to be the best that we can be. So I just thought that was a nice little way to tie it out, really. But I think we've had a lovely little show there.
All I want to do is eat cake.
we know the ins and outs now. We know we'll be looking for dials left, right and centre at the cakes. And for the people hopefully who are listening, it's give you a real deep dive into that there's more than just buying a cake in the window. You're not going shopping at Greg's. All right, you're getting someone who's put years into this. So just be mindful and wary of the process of it all.
As you're saying that, the person stood in Greg's about to buy the cake going, I can't do it.
Look at me wedding cake from here. But yeah, no, if you've made it to this far. Like, this is our 34th episode now, and we're really proud of that, I think.
Yeah, we are.
But we still think that we've got a long way to go. Like, I'm thinking 50, 100 plus.
Easy.
Like, keep going
Easy.
forever. Now, there's probably something we'd like to probably adopt as our, like, thing that we always do now, probably as long as we're in the wedding industry. So, if you haven't already, because I know a lot of people listening, like we mentioned about Jess's, is racked up into the 400 straight away over like a couple of days. Follow us and interact with us and let us know where you want us to go, because we do see a longevity in what it is that we're doing here, and having our guests on who gives us like expert opinions will always be something that we'll try and do our best at, but we still need your support to do that.
And I think because we are such like we're at the starting point of creating the podcast, so
Yeah.
when you listen to any other podcast that you listen to, they're already like at so far, they're so far into their like podcast journey. For us, if you are listening, just giving us a like or a comment or subscribing is massive. Like, absolutely
Every
huge
single
to us.
one we notice.
Yeah.
It's not like they'll probably get thousands racking up over the day and just don't even bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, if we get like 10 people overnight, we're like, oh, God, you see, we've gone up another 10.
Yeah.
So just be mindful.
Bear that in mind.
We're only babies, but we want to be adults.
And also to Lindsay, thank you so much for
Thank you for having me.
giving us your
It's
time.
been great.
Yeah.
It's been great.
And
Thank
your
you for the
cakes.
cake. Thank you for your cake.
Very welcome.
Right, let's go and eat some cake.
Cakey.